Hi guys, welcome back to the channel. This is a bit of a different setup today because James is in here and he doesn't even know I'm doing this. I'm going to tell him afterwards. But Archie's asleep and obviously I'm off. I've done the housework. I was just sitting there and I was thinking I could do some reaction videos of my own. I thought I'd start with videos that James has already done when he started this channel on his own a couple of years ago. So I went back through and I thought, well, I'll start with Lost in the Pond because we love Lost in the Pond. So James has done this one. I've not seen this video. It's 6 reasons I actually love living in the USA. So I'm interested to see, and I'm interested to do this by myself, see what you guys think, see what James thinks. He has no idea I'm doing this. Yeah, so let's go. Let's see what this is about. Very old school. But then James did do this 2 years ago.
No, I will. No, I am not going to ever wear a flat cap. I will never wear a flat cap. If you buy me one, I'll be, hey, oh, hello. Welcome to another episode of Lost in the Pond. I'm Lawrence Brown, the editor of Lost in the Pond. And you know what? Over the last few weeks, I've noticed a pattern in some of the comments you find people have been leaving, and they're good comments. They're comments along the lines of, I really appreciate what you do, Lawrence, because you focus on sort of positive things. You know, you look at America in a positive light, whereas that's actually quite a controversial stance these days.
Definitely agree with that. He definitely does. Even in videos like recent videos, he is always positive. Positive mindset.
I want to try to put out a positive message. That is part of what I do, and I'm glad you appreciate it. And because of that, I'm going to reward you with 6 things that I love about living in America. So, starting at number 1.
The weather. Okay.
Now, you're going to think me a hypocrite here, I think, a little bit, because I've spent a good portion of the last few weeks, months, whatever you want to call it, bemoaning the Chicago weather, despite my previously stated positivity. But the truth is, most of the time, at least up here in the Midwest, I can't speak to the deep south where I understand when you get to the summer, it's hot and humid and you just want to take off all your clothes and jump in the Mississippi. At least that's just me. But here in the Midwest, the spring, beautiful. I don't think there's a more perfect place to spend spring. And then the summer hits. Now, I must say it was quite oppressively hot when the summer hit when I was living in Indianapolis.
Yeah, I can imagine.
But now that I live up by Lake Michigan, I've got all that cool air coming in. So the summers aren't that bad. In fact, they're very nice. And I look forward to coming up this year. And I might even get naked there and jump in Lake Michigan and be arrested for indecency. And then the fall.
Oh, that is literally stunning. Those colours. England doesn't get like that. Well, Jersey doesn't either. That is...
Can you resist
I gotta see that
here in the Midwest of America, and indeed possibly most of America, even out on the East Coast, seeing those orange, brown and whatever leaves come down. But I do enjoy walking through the leaves and listening to the birds as they shit on my face.
Parks. I think this is going to go into national parks. I think it says national parks at the bottom, actually. America does it on a different level to anywhere else in the world. We've got an ad. We'll see you back in a minute.
Perhaps there's no better place to walk through America's leaves than in America's parks. It's got a great system of national parks right across the country. You know, and a lot of that goes back to Theodore Roosevelt, who was a big proponent of conservation and mustaches. It's almost odd to me because, you know, if you'd have asked my 18-year-old Lawrence, you know, what do you like to do on a weekend? He would have said, going to the bar and getting utterly pissed. That's British for drunk, not angry. Although sometimes I would do both, pissed and angry at the same time, and get thrown into jail. That never happened. I don't know why I said that. But nowadays, I'm an adult, or I'm 35, trying to be an adult, and the older you get, the sort of the more you enjoy the simple things in life, and
True.
Parks are absolutely that. I'd much sooner these days go for a stroll through Chicago's Lincoln Park than getting wankered off my head on vodka and Red Bull. And they're everywhere, you know, there's so many famous ones, Yosemite and Yellowstone National Park. I want to see all of them.
That is the crazy thing, I think, about America, is that there's so many national parks. And I think we say this in every video that mentions national parks. I can't, like, it baffles me because they're so big and some of them stretch across different states. And, like, how do you fit all that into one place? I just can't get my head around it.
dressed up as Teddy Roosevelt, just going around and sort of stroking that mustache and thinking, conservation.
He is very
He never
clean shaven,
spoke like
Lawrence,
that.
I've noticed. Iconic sights.
So let's take the Statue of Liberty, for example.
Yeah, so I was going to say it, but obviously you all know we went to New York. It's the only place we've been in America so far. And that's the only thing we can relate back to. Obviously, that's the only experience we have. But even in New York alone, just going to the iconic places like Statue of Liberty, Empire State Building, World Trade Center, it was like being in a movie. It was crazy.
Firstly, I will say this. She's a lot smaller than she looks in the films. A lot shorter. She's like
Yeah, she
Kylie
is.
Minogue, who on stage looks like she's 5'7" when she's actually 4'10". So when you're standing inside the Statue of Liberty and you're reading about the history of the immigration and also about the Statue of Liberty itself, I mean, it was a gift from the French. But more than that, I grew up on American films. I grew up reading about America and seeing pictures and being dazzled by them. And, I think when I first saw the Statue of Liberty, it was just this aha moment that, oh, wow, it actually exists. It's not just a fabrication made up for fiction. It's real. Even if she is smaller in real life, she is at least there, guarding America. Not literally. It would be great, wouldn't it, if we came under attack and she actually went to bat for us. Can you imagine her coming to life? You can if you've seen Ghostbusters 2. And I want to see the Golden Gate Bridge.
Yeah, Golden
book
Gate
that
Bridge. I
stole
want to
as
go
a
to
kid.
California and see
Covered
that too.
this many a time. But as a kid, I would flip to this page and I'd be like, I want to go there. I want to be there where Roger Moore was fighting Christopher Walken, Max Zorin in View to a Kill, ever since that day. And one day I'll get the opportunity to, if I can buy a blimp.
Well, lovely people. All of you guys. Lovely.
I think that Americans are... I'm tugging on my collar. Why am I doing that? Don't know. I think Americans are often stereotyped as sort of loud, overeaters, as all these other stereotypes you want to throw out there. And to some extent, there may be some truth for some people, for some groups of people. I don't care about that.
I guess there's loud people everywhere.
I care about the daily interactions I have with people. And I've got to tell you, on the whole, you know what? I often find Americans to be, this is going to sound really controversial, almost more polite than British people. Now, sometimes
definitely more helpful. Definitely more helpful. Definitely more. I feel like in the streets, I feel like Americans are more likely to say hello. British people will be like, if you know them, they'll say hi. If not, head down. Like London, head down. Everyone's going to do their own business. That's it.
Across as a little superficial. It's the sort of when you're being served in a restaurant, for example, but that sort of extends to everyday life, and it's small exchanges like that, and it's generalizing, so it's very hard for me to really state this unequivocally. But I like Americans, Of course there are some Americans that you can't even fathom. How do you exist in life? How do you get through life? But that's the same in Britain. That's the same in Sweden. That's the same in Denmark. I could name all 200 countries, and say the same thing. There's a good heart to people here.
Definitely. The history. I think we always say this, and James always says this, and it always sticks in my mind. It's a short space of time, but packed with history. That's America.
And that brings me on to another stereotype that you often hear is the history, is that America doesn't have history. It's only been around for 400 years, 300 years. But it hasn't, firstly. We've got to remember this, that before that there was thousands of years of Native American history, which we don't want to overlook. You can walk all around this country and very much in specific parts of it and see remnants very much of that history. And indeed, of course, to this day, Native American tribes and tribal areas still exist across the country. Things like reenactments of a lot of the battles that happened, or just the everyday life of people in America at that time. And even here in Chicago, if you want to talk about more immediate history, post-Chicago fire and the days of Al Capone are still very much in the air. You're seeing the infancy of the country.
Okay.
But it's an infancy that took part in the 20th century, and the 20th century was a period of such immense growth. you know, for most industrialized countries. And so even though it's in its infancy, it's gone through phenomenal changes. And you can see those. It's like looking at a cliff face and seeing how over time, over millions of years, you know, there's been different types of stone, different types of rock that tell you the age of the earth. Well, you kind of get a sense of that here in Chicago, you know, just Chicago, but you go out to Philadelphia or parts of Pennsylvania and the East Coast, and you see some of those historic buildings where legislation was signed in the early days, you know, the Declaration of Independence and all that, and yet they have a Starbucks around the corner. Not that I'm yet equating
Adding a
Starbucks
bit of
with
modern
history.
into it.
One day it will be. I look forward to the day, I won't be alive, when 200 years from now, historians look
sad.
back and they find like an old Starbucks sign underneath some dirt.
Landscape. What we got?
It's the landscape of this country it's unbelievable. So, you know, you're in the east part of the country, and even just in that section alone, from north to south, is just Michigan. You know, you see a lot of these sort of trees, especially around like West Virginia, New York State, Pennsylvania, Virginia, that kind of area. It's fantastic. You're just sort of driving through West Virginia, and you think you're going nowhere because you kind of are. You're just meandering around, but all around you are these green, rolling hills, the like of which you don't see
Beautiful.
anywhere else in my experience. And that's just the east. You know, I'm just barely touching the surface here, no pun intended, actually, it was entirely intended. And then you get out west. I've been fortunate enough on a couple of occasions to head out to Colorado and to see the Rocky Mountains, but I've not been fortunate
Colorado, another
enough
place we'd like to
be in the Rockies.
That is
I was just
just
sort of surrounded by them. I would love the opportunity
It's
to
just
just see
something
these
else,
things
that.
rolling by me, and to go out and see, like I said, the Mississippi. I won't get naked, I promise. No swimming in that, especially with the Crocs.
Glad to know, glad to know.
And so that's it, America. You know, keep smiling, keep going, keep seeing the beauty for what it is. I've talked, you know, endlessly about what a beautiful country I think this is, and it's still got so much potential, because let's remember, it is still in its infancy. It's still a young country, and it'll mature like a fine wine. It'll mature like Great Britain, and then become senile. But that's another story entirely. And so, in the vernacular of my American counterpart, later dude.
If you want to check Lawrence out, I'm sure James will put the link in the description. I won't be editing. I haven't learnt that much yet. I'm just sitting down doing the videos. But a great video. Obviously, Lawrence is brilliant. Some really good reasons. Yeah, maybe we should think about moving. If you want to see some more solo reactions, let me know in the comments. But have a fantastic day.